Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from this is different than science.org, dated, believe it or not, we're going back to November 15th of 2018 for this, but I saw it in my Twitter feed, X feed, whatever the hell you want to call it. I just thought this would be a pretty cool thing to comment on, and I haven't read this article yet. So, but stuff like this really interests me. So, it was called Why 536 was the worst year to be alive. It says glacier I cannot say this word. So it was a great glacier cores reveal Icelandic volcano that plunged Europe into darkness. Strap in, kids. I know it's a long article. I skimmed it. I mean, I shouldn't say I skimmed it. I just kind of scrolled down and saw that it was pretty long. So we're going to get into it here. So it says, ask medieval historian Michael McCormick what was the worst year to be alive, and he's got an answer, 536. And I've heard this before. I'm not so I'm an amateur historian, maybe if you want to even say it. I just like reading about it. So maybe not even an amateur. I'm a novice historian. And I don't know, and I don't wouldn't say enough about history to say like pick out a particular year, but I know about the year 536. So we're definitely going to get into that in this article, and you're going to see why. So it says not 1349 when the Black Death wiped out half of Europe, not 1918, which, if I was right off the bat, if I had to say something, that'd probably be one of the first that pops into my head. It says where the flu killed 50 to 100 million people, mostly young adults. And it's also like when Europe had like a revolution in every single country. And at least World War One ended. So that's something good then. It says, but 536. In Europe, it was the beginning of one of the worst periods to be alive, if not the worst years, says McCormick, a historian and archaeologist who chairs the Harvard University Initiative for the Science of the Human Past. That is a hell of a title. People says a mysterious fog plunged Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Asia into darkness day and night for 18 months. Quote, for the sun gave forth its light without brightness, like the moon, during the whole year, end quote, wrote Byzantine historian Procopius. Temperatures in the summer of 536 fell 1.5 to 2.5 degrees Celsius, initiating the coldest decade of the past 2,300 years. Hey, there's some climate change for you climate change folks out there. That's actual climate change. The snow fell that summer in China. Crops failed, people starved. The Irish chronicles record a failure of bread from the years 536 to 539. Well, that would suck. It says then in 541, bubonic plague struck the Roman port of Pelusium in Egypt. What came to be called the Plague of Justinian, who was the emperor at the time of Byzantium, or I should say, the Eastern Roman Empire, which is what it would have been called at that time. It's just a uh, thing we call it now is Byzantium, or the Byzantine Empire. Said what came to be called the Plague of Justinian spread rapidly, wiping out 1/3 to one-half of the population of the Eastern Roman Empire and hastening its collapse, McCormick says. Yeah, I would imagine losing that many people in your population would do something like that to you. So, since historians have long known that the middle of the 6th century was a dark hour in what used to be called the Dark Ages, but the source of the mysterious clouds has long been a puzzle. Now, an ultra precise analysis of ice from a Swiss glacier by a team led by McCormick and glaciologist Paul Mayuski at the Climate Change Institute of the University of Maine in Orano has fingered a culprit. At a workshop at Harvard this week, so this is, 5 years ago, just about, the team reported that the cataclysmic volcanic eruption in Iceland spewed ash across the northern hemisphere early in 536. Two other massive eruptions followed in 540 and 547. Man, I really would have hated to be alive at that time. Is Jesus. The repeated blows, followed by plague, plunged Europe into economic stagnation that lasted until 640, so almost or maybe 100 years, when another signal in the ice, a spike in airborne lead, marks a resurgence of silver mining, as the team reports in Antiquity this week. Wow, airborne lead, that's not something you really want to see. So, assistant to Kyle Harper, provost and medieval and Roman historian at the University of Oklahoma in Norman, the detailed log of natural disasters and human pollution frozen into the ice give us a new kind of record for understanding the concatenation of human and natural causes that led to the fall of the Roman Empire and the earliest stirrings of this new medieval economy. Because ever since the tree ring studies in the 1990s suggested the summers around the year 540 were unusually cold, researchers have hunted for the cause. 3 years ago, polar ice cores from Greenland and Antarctica yielded a clue. When a video erupts, it spews, or video, did I say video? When a volcano erupts, it spews sulfur, bismuth, and other substances high into the atmosphere, where they form an aerosol veil that reflects the sun's light back into space, cooling the planet. By matching the ice record of these chemical trees with ring records of climate, a team led by Michael Sigel, now of the University of Bern, so that's in Germany, I believe, or Switzerland? Swiss? Yeah, Swiss. I'm sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody by saying that if I said the wrong place. Has found that nearly every unusually cold summer over the past 2,500 years was preceded by a volcanic eruption. Well, hey there, now we know what to look for. The climate change crazies out there can start saying that when a volcano erupts. There's a massive eruption, perhaps in North America, the team suggested. Stood out in late 535 or early 536, and another followed in 540. Sigel's team concluded that the double blow explained the prolonged dark and cold. I wonder if it was Yellowstone, because that is a supervolcano. So maybe that was the culprit if it happened in North America. So it says Mayuski and his interdisciplinary team decided to look for the same eruptions in an ice core drilled in 2013 in the Gnifedi Glacier in the Swiss Alps. And I butchered that name, I know I did. So the 72-meter long core entombs more than 2,000 years of fallout from volcanoes, Saharan dust storms, and human activities smack in the center of Europe. So the team deciphered this record using a new ultra-high resolution method in which a laser carves 120 micron slivers of ice representing just a few days or weeks of snowfall along the length of the core. Each of the samples, some 50,000 from each meter of the core, is analyzed for about a dozen elements. The approach enabled the team to pinpoint storms, volcanic eruptions, and lead pollution down to the month or even less, going back 2,000 years, says volcanologist Andrei Kurbatov. And here is a darkest hours says, and then a dawn, a little bit of a chart here. And then it just kind of says, like, here's what happened when. We'll just scroll down that a little slowly, but the article will be linked in the description so you can, of course, open it up and check it out for yourself. Article continues and says, in ice from the spring of 536, graduate student Laura Hartman found two microscopic particles of volcanic glass. By bombarding the shards with X-rays to determine their chemical fingerprint, she and Kurbatov found that they closely matched glass particles found earlier in lakes and peat bogs in Europe and in a Greenland ice core. Those particles in turn resembled volcanic rocks from Iceland. The chemical similarities convinced geoscientist David Lowe of the University of Waikato in Hamilton, New Zealand, who says the particles in the Swiss ice core likely came from the same Icelandic volcano. But Sigel says even more evidence is needed to convince him that the eruption was in Iceland rather than North America. So we're back to Iceland. Because out of the way, the winds and weather systems in 536 must have been just right to guide the eruption plume southeast across Europe and, later, into Asia, casting a chilly pall as the volcanic fog rolled through, Kurbatov says. The next step is to try to find more particles from this volcano in lakes in Europe and Iceland in order to confirm its location in Iceland and tease out why it was so devastating. And I probably should have come prepared with something like a something more current than that, because I mean, like I said at the beginning, it's been 5 years since this article came out, so wonder what they're up to about it. Says a century later, after several more eruptions, the ice record signals better news. The lead spike in 640. Silver was melted from lead ore, so the lead is a sign that the precious metal was in demand in an economy rebounding from the blow a century before, says archaeologist Christopher Lovelock of the University of Nottingham in the United Kingdom. A second lead peak in 660 marks a major infusion of silver into the emergent medieval economy. It suggests gold had become scarce as trade increased, forcing a shift to silver as a monetary standard. Lovelock and his colleagues write in Antiquity. I might have to actually look that up and possibly read that book. So it shows the rise of the merchant class for the first time, he says. Still later, the ice is a window into another dark period. Lead vanishing from the air during the Black Death from 1349 to 1353, revealing an economy that had again ground to a halt. We've entered a new era with this ability to integrate ultra-high resolution environmental records with similarly high-resolution historical records, Lovelock says. It's a real game changer, and I think that is the end. Yes, it is. So I just find this really interesting, like that we're able to look into the past like this and say from like, this ice core right here, find out just, that's what, this is what it means. And because this was happening at the time in the atmosphere, stuff like that. That's just fascinating to me. So let me know what you guys think about this. I find this stuff really interesting. And if you know of any articles or things that are similar to this, I'd very much be interested in reading them. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.